We are just going to go over SkySlope. I'm going to walk you through how to navigate it. For the most part, 99% of the time, y'all are going to have Melina in the office or transaction coordinator running your transactions for you, and you probably will never log into SkySlope unless maybe you've got some control issues or, you know, whatever. That's fine. I log into SkySlope and check on things all the time. I have control issues. So it's okay to admit that you have control issues. That being said, if something happened to our TC in the office, right? If something happened to Melina, she ended up sick, right? Something, she didn't show up for whatever reason, or whatever transaction coordinator you're utilizing. Or like me, maybe you've got a transaction that's, you know, you're only going to make $2,500 off of and paying somebody more than 10% of your commission to a transaction coordinator. It doesn't feel worth it to you. That's fine. Do it yourself. But still, you should probably use a transaction coordinator. That being said, I want to show you how to navigate through SkySlope so that you're comfortable with it. Yours is going to look just slightly different than mine. I'm going to apologize to you in advance for that, only because I've got a few more permissions than you guys have. So you're going to log into SkySlope. If you've never logged into SkySlope, you're going to log in on your one login. So you're going to go to your one login. Here I've got the one login open, and then I have up all the apps, and it's alphabetical for the most part. So I'm just going to come down here to SkySlope and click on it. I haven't figured out how to log into SkySlope on my phone. So because of the fact that we do it through the one login, I'm sure there's probably a way. I don't know how to do it. So all I know how to do it is on my computer, which is going to that one login. When you get to SkySlope, yours, again, it's going to look slightly different than mine, but across the top, it's going to tell you if you've got anything scheduled to close this month, what you've got active, what you've got pending, right? So you've got, that's one way to get to there. If you can also, there's a search bar at the top. So if you're looking for a specific property, so I'm going to pull up Surrey Lane here. You can just type in the address and click on it that way. Otherwise, it's going to be under your like active or pending. So that's how you would navigate into it. Now, keep in mind, the most important thing that you're going to hear me say today is that your file should be in SkySlope within 24 hours of accepted contract. Okay, 24 hours of signed listing agreement, 24 hours of accepted contract for a buyer. Now, I haven't talked with Ed about this. I don't know. He may have updated you guys. There's a good chance that we're maybe going to change our process. And the second we have a buyer sign that BRBC, which is going to have to be signed before we go show them properties, that we're going to have to input them in at that point, because that's how we stay in compliance. So just kind of keep that in mind. But know that your documents should be in here within 24 hours of either a signed listing agreement or accepted contract for a buyer. And then you're going to proceed through that transaction. Okay. I'm going to set up a fake one just so you guys can see how to set that up. You can go manage transactions or manage listings. So transactions is going to be things that are already in contract, like a accepted buyer contract or a listing in contract, versus managed listing is going to be like your active listing. So there we go. If we wanted to create a transaction, once we're in here and manage transactions, we can just hit create transaction. I think you guys have the option to do that from your home screen. It's going to pull up this. Now, my general rule of thumb when it comes to if I'm putting in a transaction by myself on SkySlope is I'm just looking for the red things that are required. Okay. I'm not super concerned about putting every single little teeny tiny detail of every transaction in the SkySlope. You can do an address lookup. So if you had a specific address, you would put it here in the address lookup. I'm going to use Sample Street, Vacaville, California, 95688. I'm using a fake address. So for this purpose, let's see if it'll let me do it. All right. Oh, I know what I have to do. So if you're in this and your address isn't popping up, I had this happen the other day because I actually have like a vacant lot in contract that doesn't have an address. All you do, I will sit here for 20 minutes trying to do it, but all you have to do is hit the little X on this page here if your address doesn't pop up, and then you can manually enter in the information. Okay, so don't hesitate if you can't find your address. Most part, any address is going to be in there. We're going to run into problems is like on a new home build, it's not going to be in that address data bank. Okay, or properties, like I said, like I've got a lot in contract that does not have an address. So that's, you're going to run into a problem there. Just hit that little X, it closes that window and brings you up to here. For the most part, your name's probably already going to pop into this first box, but if it doesn't, make sure you populate that name. If there's an MLS number associated with it, put that MLS number in here. I'm going to say there's not one. 123 street number. If there's a direction, right, north, west, south, east, you put it in there. If there's a unit name, it'd go there. We're going to go 95688. That pulls up Vacaville. Oh, I skipped the street name over here. That's Sample Street because we're using a fake address. The checklist type right here on the right-hand side, the second box, this is what kind of transaction is it? Is it a HUD sale, commercial sale, lot land? Is it multi? That would be like 5+ units. Is it a new mobile home, residential new home, residential 1 to 4, short sale purchase, right? It's different and super important because it's going to assign a checklist to your transaction and tell you what documents are needed based on what you select here in this box. For the most part, yours are going to be residential 1 to 4 units. Okay, that's most properties that you're going to sell and buy are residential 1 to 4 units. Here's the property type is the next box. Is it residential, commercial, or land? And then you go property subtype. Is it a condo, cooperative, duplex, townhome, multi-units, mobile home, manufactured, single family, right? All sorts of things. Or referral. It could be a referral. Remember, your referrals need to go through SkySlope as well. If you have a co-agent on this transaction, you're gonna, it looks like you can search right here. If we click on that box, no, you cannot. We're going to come over here and hit the add button. This is another place that I spend lots of time going in circles and getting frustrated because I keep typing stuff in there and nothing comes up. Come over here, click the add. It pops up a new box. We're going to pick Anastasia. Who knew? It pulls up. I don't know why it pulls up so many. Save co-agent. Okay, so that's how if you wanted to add a co-agent to your file, that would be how you did it. All right, we're going to finish this left-hand side, then I'm going to finish the right-hand side. Here's the sales price, right? So what's it in contract for? We're going to say 400. Source, was it a sign, advertisement, open house, personal, right? This isn't super important because you're not really tracking your transactions that way, but you could put it in there. So maybe this came off a sign call. Is it an office lead, right? Did this lead come from your office? Yes or no? And then the acceptance date, I'm going to say it was accepted today. I'm so good at my transactions. I'm not just getting it in within 24 hours. I'm doing it the same day. All right. Type of representation. Is it a purchase, a listing, both purchase and listing, lease, tenant, lease, right? Referral, BPO, other. So I'm going to say this is a purchase. No thanks. All right. And then the year built is red because obviously, depending on what year it was built, it's going to require different forms. So I'm going to say this is built in 1976. All right. And then when's the anticipated close of escrow date? I'm going to say that's not going to be right because it's not going to close on a Saturday. Remember, if your due date lands on a Saturday or Sunday, it rolls to the next business day. Actually, it's not even going to roll till the Monday. It would be Tuesday because I think Monday's probably Labor Day, right? So it rolls to the next business day. All right. Once you've got all the little red asterisks filled in, then you're going to hit the next button. Any questions on this first page? I do have the chat box open. I'm watching you guys on the little participant, and then I usually, if you raise your hand, or you can just interrupt me and ask questions as we move along. Here's the rest of the information that you've got to put in, right? So we've got a buyer, so we need to put the seller's name. Just so you know, if there's usually 2 sellers, I'll probably get in trouble for teaching you this, but I just put both sellers here. So I put like Mr. and Mrs. and then their last name is seller. Okay, so I'd put their first names with an and if there's more than one seller and the last name there. Nothing else on this page has a red asterisk, which means I can skip over everything else. I just click save. Next. Here's our purchaser. This is our buyer. This should be our client. But same thing here. If I've got more than one buyer, I'd say Mr. and Mrs. Buyer is their last name. Here it's making you put in an email for your buyer. So buyer for sample street at gmail.com. There we go. Right. And then it also asks for your buyer's emails or phone numbers. All right, there we go. And then we hit save. And we hit next. Next is the title company. Who is the title or closing officer? So we put a title officer first and last name there. It's also asking for a phone number for your title company. It's asking what the title company's name is. Name of title company. And then title co email at gmail.com. All right. So see, I'm just looking for the red dots. Once I've got that information in, I hit save. Once you put title companies in there, it usually shows up in your contacts, so you can usually find it. You don't have to hand put everything in there. Here's the agent representing the other side. So this would be, in this case, the listing agent information goes here. Listing agent's phone number. And listing agent's company goes down there in that other last line. Once we have that in, we just hit save. And hit next. The next is there a lender? If there's not a lender, it's a cash deal. We just click this little box here right underneath the save button that it's cash, and it takes away all of the red buttons. If it is finance, we're going to put the loan officer's first and last name. The type of loan here, is it personal, conventional, VA, FHA, or other? And then what their company name is. That's all you have to put there. I'm just going to check this box and hit save. That's all that we're required as far as the setup goes. So once we have that information in here, home warranty, miscellaneous contacts, no red asterisks there. So then we can come up here and hit this submit button. Okay, if we entered in misinformation somewhere, we can always go back and fix it, just so you know. Here it's going to take us to the commission tab. This is going to try to trick you. Okay, see where it says submit and open escrow? If I hit submit and open escrow, it's going to try to send an email directly from SkySlope to my title company. If we just want to submit the file and not open escrow, we just hit the submit button. But see how that's nice and gold? Like it's like drawing you in to click that submit and open escrow. And then you're going to click on it. You're going to be like, oh, I don't know what it's asking. We're just going to hit, oh, it's going to ask for the sales commission. So here's the sales price. What's the sales commission? I'm just putting in a number there. Not saying what it should or shouldn't be. All right. And then I'm hitting submit. All right. So once we get the file into SkySlope, we put in all of that background information on the file. You only have to do that once. Once it's in there, then it opens up our checklist. Okay, here is our checklist. If we needed to go back in there and edit any of the details of the transaction, up here on this top toolbar, we would just click transaction. Here we can go in here and edit any of the information here. You can also go to contacts. That's where the buyers, the sellers, all their information is. And we can edit any of that information. So we would just figure out which one we want to edit and click the edit button and then save it. All right, but I'm going to go back to the checklist. For the most part, most of your time is going to be spent in the checklist, okay? The top part of this has the transaction summary. It also has this email here. So one of the other really important things with compliance is the state of California requires us to save all emails for like 27 years. Okay, it's not that long, but it feels like it. So what we're going to do is any email correspondence that has anything to do with this file, communication with our buyers, communication with the listing agent, communication with the lender, the title company, communication with inspectors, anything that has to do with this file. I even go back to any previous emails that I've had with this buyer since they became my client or started looking for a property. I'm going to forward them all to this email right here that's listed, the sample street 12341 at skyslope.com. Okay. In addition to that, your transaction coordinator, if you have one, if you don't, you're going to instruct everybody at the very beginning of this transaction, please make sure to CC this email on all correspondence regarding this file. What that's going to do is it's going to create a log for this file of all the emails. What that's going to do is if we're ever audited by the DRE to make sure that we're saving emails, number one, we can show that we're saving them. Number two, if you ever have a lawsuit that comes up or you have to go back and find something after you've deleted stuff from your email, it'll be here forever. Forever. Okay? So that's the importance of the email. Okay. We're going to go back to the checklist. Any questions so far about how to set up the file or what that email is for? Okay. I was thinking something and now it's gone. Oof. Anyways, so there's that. Then we have this checklist. It says, hey, oh, look, we're required to have either the BRBC or the PSRA. See, it shows required here. Disclosure regarding agency relationships, the fair housing disclosure, right? So it goes through all the things that are required. Here's buyer's proof of funds, if applicable, right? Contingency for sale of property, if applicable. That means I don't have to include that if it doesn't apply to this transaction. Okay. You're going to scroll down further. It kind of groups it. So the first is kind of all the transactionally related documents, like your demand to close escrow, your notice to perform, your actual contract. Then this disclosure documentation, that's where like the FERPAs and the TDS and the SPQ and the SBSA go. This allows our compliance team that once you upload these documents, they can go in there and review them, make sure they're accurate, make sure they're complete, and sign off on them. So you know you're done with that document. Otherwise, they might kick it back and say, hey, by the way, you're missing a signature. We're missing a date here. If we have a document like that that's missing something, it's not a big deal. We just go back, we fix it, and we have everybody initial it. We can't just change signed documents, okay? So if like we have the wrong addendum number or the wrong amendment number on the top, which happens all the time, we just fix it with the correct one, initial it, have our clients initial it, send it back to the other party for their parties to initial the change as well, okay? So that's usually the like number one thing that gets missed, or like a date gets missed. Okay, so it's going to tell you everything that's required here. If there's something that shows as required or that you need or that you have questions on, then and you want to make a note of it. So like contingency removal inspection contingency. We also have an appraisal contingency, and we have contingency removal loan contingency. So maybe you want to say there's no loan contingency so that when compliance reviews your file, they take that required off of that. So here in this middle box, I'm just going to click on it and put no loan contingency CRPA. CONTI. GENC, right? And then the important thing is once you make a comment, we're going to go over and hit save. Okay, that's going to save that comment to that history of that line item so that they know to go in there and clear it off in the future when they go through and do their review of your file. Okay, you're not going to have this second button that says must upload or not required. You're just going to have save and attached over here. Okay, now you're like, Amy, how do I attach these things? It's fairly easy. There's multiple ways to do it. Okay. Number one way is if we have an email, let me get that working on getting that open. So I can, oh, in fact, I can probably just forward it from here. Let's see here.
How do we change the color? Like if we don't want red, how yours is blue?
Oh, that's secret.
I hate
I'm
red.
joking. I'll show you how to do that. Remind me at the end. All right, hold on just a second. I'm just going to find a document that has something on here. That's probably not a good one. Hold on. Surrey Oh, here we go. This is a great one to send over. I'm going to forward this to sample. So I'm just taking my email that has my purchase agreement in it, and I'm sending it to Sample Street 12341 at skyslope.com. So I'm just forwarding this email to the file. Hopefully I put the right email in there. Okay, so that you can see the different ways to do this. Okay, one way to attach the document, which is just come right over here and hit attach. The problem being with like the BRBC is that our BRBC has multiple documents attached to it. It has an agency disclosure. It's got the buyer's the broker compensation advisory, right? It's got all these things attached to it. And we truly just want the BRBC in that line item. So if we had it separate, we could just come in here and click on it, hit upload document. Okay, but again, we just want it to be just that BRBC document, just that 5-page document or 3-page or 27-page, whatever it is these days, right? So we just hit attach. And then it shows here as pending. Pending means it needs to be reviewed by our compliance department. If you want to look and see what you've uploaded, see this little paper clip, if I just move my cursor over it and hover, it will pull up a copy of that document so you can preview it. So that's one way to do it. The other way is if I click on that paper clip, it's going to open it for me in a separate window. Okay, so if you want to see what you uploaded, that's the way to do it there. I'm not going to wait for that to open. Okay.
Mine is showing in review.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yours shows in review. Mine shows pending.
Okay.
I apologize, but yeah, that's how it shows in review. Thank you. So yours should show in review, showing that it needs to be reviewed. Once it's been reviewed, it's either going to get kicked back as accepted or rejected. Okay, and they're different colors depending on what stage they're in. So if it gets accepted, then we're done with that one. We know our BRBC is good to go. If it gets rejected, there will usually be a comment in the comments box telling you why it was rejected, what it was missing, that it was the wrong document, whatever it is. Okay, so one way to attach files here is just to hit the attach button. The second way is we can come over here to the Documents tab. This Documents tab, what it's going to do is any emails that are forwarded to the SkySlope email, it's going to automatically pull those files off the email, and it's going to put them in this Documents tab for you. Okay, super handy, super easy. So I forwarded over an email that had a bunch of documents in it to here from my phone, and it just logged all of those documents here. Okay, it also logs these attachments. These are like photos, right? Like JPEGs. And where these here are all the PDFs. So see, it's got the little Adobe Acrobat symbol on them, as well as it's got the eyeball so you can see it. In this document section here, it says it's got a paper clip. That means that that document was assigned to an item already. Okay, so that's how we keep these straight between what's been assigned and what hasn't. Here is our market conditions advisory. So maybe we want to just assign this file. The second way to do it is we just come over here and click this little box right here next to it. We come up here and we click assign. It's going to say, hey, what do you want to add that to? We're going to say we want to add it to the market conditions advisory. Sometimes it comes up with acronyms. Sometimes you have to start spelling it out. I'm going to click on that. I've got that selected. I'm going to hit assign. Okay, so another super easy way once documents have been forwarded over to assign it. So now it's got a paper clip there. If we go back to that checklist, it's going to come down. I'm just going to look for a red one. Here is the market conditions advisory. Yours would say in review, but it would be a different color than the required. Okay, so that's the second way. First way is we can hit attach directly from here. Second way is we can go to the Documents tab. And we can select an item here and attach it by hitting the assign button. The next way, which is my favorite way to assign documents, is we can hit the split button, even if it's one document. So I'm going to hit split on this one. It's the additional agent acknowledgement. It's gotten so smart in SkySlope now that now it looks for the document that it might match to. So see, it's going to automatically split up the document for you. So here it's saying, hey, it's page 1-to-1, additional agent acknowledgement. The checklist item is additional agent acknowledgement. It's asking me if that's accurate. If it was inaccurate, I could say, hey, clear the suggestions. I don't want your help. But SkySlope's super smart. Okay, I'll show you what it looks like with multiple pages here in a minute. I just wanted to start easy with a single one. We're just coming here and we're going to hit split and assign. What it's going to do is it's going to take that document and it's going to assign it to that item on the checklist. It's going to say, hey, do you want to return to docs or go back to your checklist? In this case, I'm going to go back to docs because I want to show you how to split a document where there's multiple things together in the same thing. All right. So because I split that document, I've got one that shows unassigned, but then I have the one that shows assigned. So that's the only problem with if you don't, if you go in there and hit the split button for those when there's only one document. All right, here's our vacant land purchase agreement. So on this one, it's just like the regular purchase agreement. There's so many different things attached to this document. So we're going to come back over here to hit the split. The other thing is too, is if you want to see what this looks like or what document is this, like this one is Surrey Lane 270. So I can click the little eyeball. If you hover over the eyeball, it'll show you a preview as well. But if you click on it, it'll open it up in a new tab. There's the little hover, right? So these are tax records. So yeah, I know what that is. So now it makes it easy for me to go in there and click on this one, go up and hit assign and assign that to the tax records or wherever it should go, right? Okay, so back to the vacant land purchase agreement. I'm going to scroll over here because I know this one has multiple documents attached to it. I'm going to hit the split button. Just a second, we're splitting it for you. So it's pulling up. It's going to auto split this document for me. So it's going to look through it and try to, I wouldn't trust this 100%, but it does work pretty good. Okay, so here is, it's automatically split page 1 and page 2 as the agency disclosure regarding agency relationships. Like, that's perfect. Scroll down to number 3, it's the Fair Housing Discrimination Advisory. It's got pages 3 and 4, fair housing. So that's 3 and 4, that's accurate. If we're scrolling down, it does tell us what page we're on here as we're scrolling through this document. Page 5, it's got PRBS, which is what it split it to. Page 6 is the wire fraud, which is what it's got it split to over here on the side. It tells us what the document name is. It tells us where it's going to add that item to the checklist. Then we've got our vacant land purchase agreements. It's going to attach it to the RPA page 16 escrow acknowledgement, which is wrong. I'm going to say, hey, I just want that as part of the residential purchase agreement. So I just clicked on it, found what I wanted. I could have typed it in as well, purchase, right? And it would have popped it up and just clicked on that to change the document if it does something wrong. And this says it's pages 7 through 23. If it was wrong on those pages, we're going to get down there to 23, 19, 21. All right, it was right. It's got 23 pages, but you could just click this. Maybe you wanted this to be page 22 at the end. And then maybe we needed to add, it skipped over page 23 now. So we're going to hit add row down here at the bottom. And we're going to hit page 16 of RPA. And then I want this to be page 23. So I'm just going to select that from the drop down on both sides. So it's page 23 to 23. And then I'm going to hit page 16 escrow acknowledgement. Okay, normally we don't split off the last page. I was just doing this as an example to show you guys how that works. Okay. So now we've got that in there. We come back up. Page 24 is the vacant land buyer's inspection advisory. I've got this set up as a residential transaction, not vacant land. So it matched it with the buyer's inspection advisory. Then we have the Fair Appraisal Act addendum here. I don't think there is a fair or an appraisal act. So it did it as like an additional addendum. Oops. So, oh no, it didn't. All right, ADBN. So it's got addendum, additional addendums. So this is a Fair Appraisal Act addendum. So it is an additional addendum. So I just click attach it there. Then we've got our California Consumer Privacy Act after that one. And then that's the end of our document. So did we see how we did that, everyone? Anybody got questions? Okay, fabulous. If there were pages that didn't get split for whatever reason, right, they weren't included in our document, we can just skip over some. Like I could say, hey, this is page 9 through 22, and then we have nothing for 7 and 8. We can just leave those blank. Not a big deal. Okay, we don't have to assign everything in that packet. There might be some dead pages in there. Once we've made our selections, we're happy with how it looks over here. We just come down here and we hit split and assign. And then it's going to take that document that had so many multiple things, just so you guys know that this is what your transaction coordinator is doing for you. They're coming in here, they're making sure all those I's are dotted, those T's are crossed, and then they're making sure everything was filled out appropriately, and then they're splitting and putting it all in here for you. So that's why you pay your transaction coordinator, because this takes way too long all by yourself. All right. So then I'm going to hit, just so we have, well, let me go back to docs first, because I'll show you what this looks like in the docs. So once we split and assigned it, so now we've got all these things with paper clips here, because all those things were there. Our vacant land purchase agreement now down here, because I didn't assign all the pages, I left a couple pages out. It shows there that it's still got that floating around down there. Okay. So that's what that looks like. So now we know all these things have been assigned. If we go back to our checklist now, we have all these items are now pending because we split and assigned it. Okay, this tells us what we need to ask for from the other agent, what we know we need for our file still. So that's how you do that. Once we get to the end of our transaction and everything's been stuck in review, everything's accepted, that's what keeps you guys from getting paid. So just so you know, it's things where we don't have everything in the file. So it's a good idea to be checking in with your transaction coordinator of, hey, is there anything that we're missing for our file, right? As we're getting closer to the close of escrow, because sometimes our TCs, they ask for things from the other agents or the other transaction coordinators. They're having problems getting things. Time for you to get involved, because you want to make sure that you have everything in that file ready to go by the close of escrow, so that when that check comes into the office, it gets distributed out to you. So the top section again is transaction information. Then we've got disclosure information, and then this here's all your reports. All go here. And then we have all of our closing documents. So a copy of the commission demand, once it's signed, goes in here. Make sure all your emails are either PDF'd or CC'd to that SkySlope email. Once they are, we usually just put a little comment in here of all emails CC'd to SkySlope. And then you hit save. Remember, that's how we make a little comment there. We need an MLS sold page. We need the FERPTA form from title and escrow. We usually get that at the close of escrow. They usually email us a copy of it. And then the broker closing package gets uploaded by the office. That's the package of checks and the final closing statement and everything. They scan it in and upload that one for you. So that's how you navigate through SkySlope. That's how you can see what's required, what's in review, what's if applicable. Any document that's part of your transaction should go on here that gets signed by your clients. We have other line for like addendums. We also have like the AEA lines for amendments or other amendments. So there's always like some place to put other disclosures. So if it's a disclosure that's not listed, if it's a report that's not listed, miscellaneous buyer signed reports, or an R for R, RFR, right? Receipt for reports for other reports. So everything should go in here. Every email should be CC'd. That's how you navigate through it. If once this gets reviewed, usually what happens is the compliance person is going to hit the button that says update agent. You're going to get an email from SkySlope that says, your document's been reviewed, here's the update, and you can scroll through that email. It'll show you what was accepted, what was rejected, and what's still needed in that email. The other thing that happens is sometimes our buyers cancel transactions. You're going to have a little button there to move it through and move it to canceled. Okay, so you can hit, I don't remember what it looks like because mine doesn't have it. I apologize, but there's a little button to cancel the transaction. You put that in there, you put the information, then it's going to ask you to upload like the copy of the cancellation and such.
It
Okay,
says incomplete, in review, completed, required, and that's it. Doesn't say canceled. Doesn't give us an option.
What about at the top? Do you have this little drop down? Oh, here, yeah, at the top. Transaction action,
yep.
upper right.
Yeah, we just
You
have
can
download, cancel, and duplicate.
Yep. Cancel. Okay.
Copy.
So you can cancel that transaction up there. You still have to upload the documents for it to be complete. So don't just like hit cancel and forget about it, because we need to make sure we legally canceled that contract. The other thing is too, is with your listings, it's going to ask you for all your listing documentation first, your copy of your listing agreement, the upfront disclosures and such that are required with that listing agreement, and everything that's required on LS date, the SELM form, right? Whatever that is. And then once all of your listing stuff has been inputted, it's been reviewed and signed off, then it'll give you the option to accept offer. Okay. Because then once we accept an offer on our listing, then it's going to change that file from a listing to a transaction folder. So it's going to add the rest of the required documents there for you. Okay, so those are the two things where we kind of get hung up a little bit once we're inside of there, is like, okay, I've got a listing, but now I've got a contract and I can't, like, where do I put the accepted contract? If your listing information hasn't been signed off and uploaded yet, then it's not going to allow you to move it forward into the accepted offer phase. It's going to keep the same email though, so you can go ahead and start forwarding those documents to that email once we're in contract. And then also you're going to message your transaction coordinator or message the compliance team and just let them know that, hey, I've got an accepted offer on this transaction. Can you go there and review it so that I can move it to accepted offer? Any questions about SkySlope before we wrap up for today?
Very informative. Thank you. Now I can do this to help relieve Melina of some of her, because I know sometimes she gets overwhelmed.
You can, but try not to get in there, because sometimes, you know, too many hands in the pot make it kind of dirty, and then somebody, you know, throws in salt and the other person adds some more salt. Now it's too salty. So same thing happens with SkySlope. So just make sure if you're going to go in there that you message your transaction coordinator to give them a heads up that, hey, I'm going to go ahead and just throw it all in there for you, or, you know, whatever it might be.
Okay.
So that you're not stepping on their toes.
Gotcha.
I think that's all I got for today. There's a link in the chat box that you can click on if you want to suggest future trainings. We are getting ready to put together our fall calendar. So I'm excited about the fall calendar. We have a couple new things that I'm kind of working on and getting ready to launch. So we'll have those released in the fall. And then I would still like to bring on some special guests. I'm hoping to get like an appraiser in. We never had Cindy Dillard come over for the zero-based tax class, where she was talking about kind of some ways to pay attention and things that you can write off that you don't necessarily think about to help you get to a zero-based tax bracket. And then some other things as well. So just know that we've got some cool things in the works for the fall. But if you want to suggest a training, click on that link, go in there and suggest it. And I will see you guys all next week.
Okay. No more BRB, ABCD, right? It's been replaced by the SPBB.
There is no more ABCD because there's no more cooperating broker compensation.
Okay, so it
hasn't necessarily been replaced by the SPBB, two completely different forms.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
The SPBB only gets used if we're negotiating our commission with the seller.
Got it. Okay.
But if we are, if the buyer's paying us our commission, then we don't need an SPBB.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Wonderful class. Yep. Appreciate it.
Fabulous. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.